G'day and welcome, and kicking off part 10 is more dodgy work. This car has been smacked. It's been smacked from here. All that section's been replaced to that seam. And we sort of knew that anyway. We can see tiger yellow down there. We've already talked about that. We had the buckled top we knew about, and we've got all this yellow paint that's showing through. In this area here, this is where our join is. So this part of the strut tower is original, that part isn't. They've used brazing material, or they've brazed here, here, nothing there, and they've filled everything with filler. Now that's all come out. It's possible this has moved a bit, causing cracks. You can see the heat where they've been brazing, but putting filler over shiny yellow paint is never going to work. The front end is an 1/8 of an inch out. Corner to corner, we've got an 1/8 of an inch less on this side than we do on that side. Not such a big deal because panel overhang, headlight adjustment, bumper mounting, all that sort of stuff can be hidden. So it's not a great deal. They've replaced this bit here, down the bottom, that front core support cross member, if you want to call it that, I don't know. That should be welded where those big self-tapper bolts were. Been joined there at the bottom on that lip, and of course, you know, it's a little bit less than satisfactory. Strut towers are square off the corners, measurements are identical. Front end mounts, again, measured diagonally, are identical. So the front end is at least square. It's the corner here that's not. And as I said, I don't think it matters because an 1/8 of an inch is very, very easy to hide when it's basically cosmetic sitting on top of it. It's not really anything to do with the car driving down the road. Now, the work's average. I don't see too much point in re-welding around there. I'll see. But I do see a point in digging this out and having a look. The thing is, once I've painted this, I don't want to have to redo anything. I want to paint it, leave it, forget about it. But there's too much yellow showing. There's more under there for my liking. Now, I don't want to take all the paint off, but it is a bit of a mess. This raised section here was replicated in filler over here. And it looks terrible. I don't like that one little bit. So I don't know what's under there, but I do know that's filler in that area there. I can see a little thing there, and also it's a bit undulated underneath. So that's something I didn't really want to do. Added to the fact there's all sorts of grinder marks or sanding marks in it. And you can see it there, and there's all sorts of it here. And it's not even keyed. That's actually shiny where it's been sitting on the yellow paint. So it's disconcerting. I think the repair was done an awfully long time ago. It wasn't a recent thing. But it will mean repairing this is going to take a bit longer than I thought. So anyway, life's good. We don't mind. We'll just get in there and do it. Okay, let's have another look. We've got a factory joggle there. So that's how it's supposed to be. But there are drilled out spot welds. There's one there. There's one there. And you can see where they've brazed it. Maybe they're plug welds, I don't know, they look like original spot welds, but that's all over the shop. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to seam weld right across it and fill over it. I was going to use a seam sealer, I bought some seam sealer. I can't weld on top of that, but I can weld next to it and come right across. And the same under there, there's a bit of brazing there, and a bit in the corner, but I can get to that. I think we'll hammer and dolly it first, and just fill it, I think. I think it's okay too. I'll have to take more filler off because the heat from the weld is going to affect it. But there's a lot of filler in there and I want to get rid of it. At least get rid of anything affected. But that's pretty bad. It doesn't look very good. Bit of wind, so I do apologise. The other thing is this bracket here. Now this was bolted in with these large self-tapper 10mm head things. Kind of in like that. Originally they were welded. So what I might do I think we'll clean some of this stone shield crap off. Let's weld it down here, weld it down here, weld it on the end there like it should be, just fill these holes in. I've had a look at it, this is the new support piece, and that's going to line up fine. Absolutely fine. So this original one was bent, see there. So the original one was far more upright, so we've got a crease in there, which could have been fixed, but I've got this one now, so it's pretty easy. So I think we're going to revisit this as well, because I just don't like what I'm seeing. Right, the welder's died. I've got a, if I turn it on, the wire speed's normally there. See, nothing's coming out. That thing's not turning properly. If I turn it right up, we get decent feed, but any of those speeds, it's like it's slipping. So I'm not sure what's causing that. And I don't really want to pull this into bits. But I can't get it to weld because I can't regulate the speed of it. So it's just making a mess everywhere. So, whatever drives that, I'll see if I can find an exploded drill bit. But I might have to take the cover off and have a look. Look at this monster. Check that transformer out. There's two of them. There's one little one down there, which is still huge. And that great big sucker. The problem with the feed roller, it's that thing that looks like a wiper motor. 24 volt. There's another transformer up here. So there's nothing like that. So it's all pretty safe and dead as far as I know. I don't know. I need to have it looked at. Anyway, can't do much now. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Actually, I was filming in here, and we were filming on the ground. Like I see this. I was picking up wheel nuts. I think I've got like 30 of them. Oh, yeah, over there. They break them up, yeah. They're the ones that'll go to the crusher. They're behind that fence, I think. And they've got, come over here. So they're all squashed and bashed up. Actually, these ones aren't squashed. Yeah, don't film that guy, I might get pissed off. Yeah.
I'm not.
Oh, yeah, look, Rosie. Over there, that pile. You know what gets me though? They were brand new. Whoever bought them would have got in and been really excited about that lovely new car. I'm trying to get the battery tray out and I've forgotten to bring a hammer. I'm drilling around the welds and using this rocks. I'm just trying to... I've got one off. Got it out. I've sort of made a bit of a mess of it because I drilled holes and then sort of smashed it out. I haven't got the right tools. But that doesn't matter because what I can do, I'll just put a strip of metal there, strip of metal there. All the corners are sound. This is really, really good piece. And then I'll just seam weld it behind. Tidy up the top. Hole through there and we've got ourselves a battery tray. That one's even still got the weld there which didn't penetrate the original structure of the car. So some of the factory welding, don't go that close, some of the factory welding was really, really bad in these. But the other one's kind of rusted off in the corner, rusted out in these sorts of corners, and it's just too much mucking around just to fix it, you know what I mean? So that is pretty good. Now I need a couple of screws.
Dad, smile.
I need a couple of screws. For the head, what do you call it? The sun visors, because I lost. It's a funny kind of sun one, I lost it. Those guys. What's it take the other one while I'm here, eh?
Hold on, does this mean I have to come close?
So we've got our piece here, and we put our Fred Flintstone hammer back.
No, we're not going to put it back.
You want to keep the rock? Why do you want to keep the rock?
Because I just want to keep it.
Rosie, don't hug it, it's dirty, it's a rock. You're an idiot.
See, we both got what we wanted today.
Yeah, but I can use this, what are you going to do with that?
I'm going to paint it and call it Jerry or something.
Whatever floats your boat, love. Alright. I'm just going to put this back because I wouldn't mind that engine, but I don't think I'll get it. I can't bother coming out here and taking it out. Alright, we'll go and pay. I wonder if I can pull this for $10. That'd be pretty good, wouldn't it?
Do we have to pay for the rock as well?
You're not taking a freaking rock, are you? You're really taking the rock.
Okay, I'm going to pull.
please you. Oh, the rain's coming now.
Yep.
Alright, we've got these. I can't believe we bought a bloody rock. That's ridiculous. Let's have a look at something here. If I flick that switch the other way. Oh, that's annoying. Alright. Mitsubishi have annoyed me. What we've got is we've got these lights in the C-pillar. They're in a plastic trim. There's the steel body of the C-pillar just behind it. So these aren't always going to touch. They could, but they're not always going to. So they've run a constant earth there. Now, what we've got is we've got constant power as well. So these only work as off or on, independently of the interior lights. Now, that doesn't suit me. It's a 3-pin switch. So in other words, in this position, these two are energized. If you flick the switch the other way, these two are energized. Now, if Mitsubishi in the Sigma range had put a switched positive on the door switches, we could have had it so that we had a constant earth, a switched positive and a constant positive on either side. So one way, they come on with the doors, and when you close the doors, they go off. But if anyone's in the back and they want to read a cassette playlist or whatever, they can flick it the other way and it would come on. And when they go to turn it off, it goes off until the door's open, then they come back on. That's more useful as an interior light because it lights up the whole cabin. That's what I wanted. But the fact that they've put a switched earth on the door means we can't do that. Now, I'm going to be carrying people in the back of this car, but it's going to be on a nice sunny day. If I do carry them around at night, the chances of them wanting to use one of these is negligible. So, I don't want to use it like that. So what I can do, there are two of them. I've got a pen. Here's the back of the car. That's the left. That's the right. The constant power for the right one is piggyback to the left. So I can cut that. And what I can do is, I've got a relay. Hang on, I've just got to go and get a relay, just a sec. Alright, this is a big sucker, it's a 40 amp. We don't need anything like that, but I want to use a relay to switch the polarity. Basically a relay is just a little switch. And underneath that switch is a coil. So basically when you have a little piddly switch and you energize the coil, it shuts that and you can run huge amounts of current through there. And that's why people use them with electric fans and driving lights and all that. But what we can do is we can take that positive, constant positive, and we can run it into both sides of one area of the relay. We can connect that one to a door switch. There's an earth, that's your little door switch. So when the door is opened, it completes the circuit and we get positive out of here. And that's what we can use to run into these two, so that when we open and shut the door, these run. It just means if you turn the switch the other way, they'll stay off when you open and close the door. The other way, they come on when you open and close the door. But what it also means is you can't independently turn them on when the doors are all closed. But I don't care about that. So I reckon that's the way to go. I'll just use a little flipper relay, and that way we can have them on with interior lights. Beautiful. Right, so we fitted all the rear wiring load. We're sort of threaded it through and everything. Sorry about the wind noise if you can hear that. There's a bit of steel shielding, if you like. It's more like, it acts as a conduit, holds the rear loom there. Now what we've got, here's our positive feed. We don't want positive feed to the rear lines. They branch off. We've got an earth, a constant earth, which is also there. You can see that's been split into a double thing. That goes off to this side there. I don't know if you can see that, but what I want to do is I want to start messing with this. Now, what we're doing here, if we don't like it, we can always revert very quickly back to a stock configuration, but I'll tell you now it won't. I know exactly what I want with this. So, I'm going to just separate this. Now the problem is there are 3 positive feeds coming out of this, not 2. The third one's the boot line. There are 3 wires. So what I'm going to do, if I can find my thing, I've got to figure out which one's the boot. Where are my side cutters? Right, probably not what you want to see, but I'm going to cut this out. Okie dokie. So what we're going to do is we're going to join this with some of this old wiring from the high mount stoplight, and I've got a bit of green there as well. That we need to splice into two things. We need to splice it into the boot light again, because I don't want them controlled by the tail light, by the interior light, sorry. And I'm also going to splice it into the relay feed, and that again will splice into the two sides of the positive end of the relay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a multimeter to figure out which of these is the other interior light, which is the boot light, and I'll be back. Right, so that's the electrical modification done. I've tapped into the door switch with this one. There's our constant positive that goes off to the relay. That gets split across two sides of the relay. The door switch, the moment someone opens the door, because they're all connected, it'll find ground. That'll energise the relay. Therefore, it'll chuck positive down this wire, which will be connected, or is connected, to the two interior lights, courtesy lights in the back. So we can tape this into a nice little loom, stick it in the back behind, or just above where the jack goes, in that sort of frame, remember? You won't see it, and we'll tidy all this up, tape it up, put the conduit back on, and no one will be any the wiser. Rightio, so our loom is all sort of done in there, tucked up where it was. There's the one that's going up to the relay now. Hang on a sec. I've dropped in. I've run out of heat shrink that's going to fit over them, but they all have to be insulated with heat shrink tube before we can plug them into this relay. That relay is going to hang on the inside up in there, so you won't even see it. Generic relay, you can see the map of it there and the pin numbers. Really easy, you can't fudge that up. The conduit is sitting here temporarily. I haven't clipped it in, it's got a little screw down the bottom, but all that speaker wiring, I am putting the speakers back in, but that speaker wiring I want routed up through that channel there. I don't want it under the carpet. The other thing is I'm going to put the 4-inch speakers in, and I've ordered some generic 6-inch speaker grills to fill in the big hole that was in the parcel tray. So that is looking pretty good. I'll thread that through, get the relay mounted, and that should be it. So here it is, all wired up. I'm loath to put that up there yet. There's a hole there and that'll all sit up behind this, so we won't be able to see it. Not going to do it yet until I get the heat shrink and sort of insulate that a bit better, because I don't want it shorting out. But anyway, that looks like a success. So essentially we're not ready to be putting dashes back together or anything like that, but we can put the dash pad in. We're masking up to here, or in there. So we can mask it off, that can stay in there, gets it out of the way in the garage. This is a March 81 car. I love stuff like this, 23rd of, or 20th I think, 20th of February 1981. So it's nice to see that sort of thing. And it just falls in, from the inside obviously. And it's dirty, but we can clean it up. I've also repaired the speaker, the original one. It's a single speaker for an AM radio. I like leaving that sort of kit in there. The wiring loom is sort of taped up for it. One of the wires is broken, so I repaired it. There we go. You go through there. You go through there. So I've broken this here, and I'm just popping a bit of two-part, it's an arrow dye it's called. I've probably got too much in there, but the sun will hit it and it'll go off. I don't want to go down the thread, we'll never get the thing off again. Don't say glue, say yoo-hoo. That's what my auntie used to say. There was an adhesive in England called yoo-hoo. This little Mitsubishi radio speaker that sits under the dash, I had to reattach that wire there, it had come off. And very well protected cone by having this fabric on top. It appears to be in great condition. I have another one. I can't remember where I got it for the Plymouth. And I can't remember if it's in good nick. But this is sort of a standard size. So what I'll do, if the Plymouth one's no good, I'll use this in it. But for now we'll stick it back in the Mitsubishi. Okay, so I've run into a problem. This trim at the back had fallen off. It's fairly dirty, but it doesn't matter that much. It's held in by tiny little staples, and it kind of goes over the back here, over the back of the headlining. It's like a dress trim, what do you call it? Anyway, look, I've taken the staples out, and I'm going to try and get it on and stapler, so I've sort of lowered the back of the headlining to get it in, and it's not the easiest thing to do. If I can get the centre section, I should have done it on the ground or on the bench, but I didn't know how it was secured. I thought it just sort of slipped over. It looks alright from underneath, as long as it holds it there. Whoops, the screen will hold it in, and so will the C-pillar trims. What are we up to? Well, speaker wiring is here, and it's in heat shrink tubing, and that will protect it as it drops down and connects to our speakers. Where are the keys? The keys are here. Okay, whoopsie. All the windscreen molds are there. I've tucked the boot mat back in. There's a spare wheel under there, which having a nice big wash too. Repaired that indicator socket there. The centre green wire had come out, so I repaired that. We're good there. Headlighting's all done. You can see the sun visors are up there, roof console's up there. The trims, the blue trims are up there, which is good, and we've got one of our little map lights in over there. I'll go into detail about how I did that. That was a bit of a pain in the neck really. So a little bit of time's involved with doing that, so I've got to do this side here, so I'll show you how to do that. I don't know if I ever mentioned that floor I cleared. I've stuck the little Mitsubishi speaker back in over there. I've got the dash pad in. The dash pad is dirty, but I'm not going to clean it until I'm ready to put more stuff in. So that's all sitting there, and what it means is we'll mask off from up here right to the top when we paint the engine bay. And I've been filling there. I've got to go over it again and get that right. That's all seam welded under there. I think I mentioned before, I'm not sure, I can't remember. So it's all looking pretty good. I'm happy with it, very happy with it. It's going to be good. Oh, I also put that insulation panel in the back too. You can see down there. That's actually better if I shoot it from this angle because you can see with the light. The other thing we've got are these rust repair sections, and they're very complicated. You can see how difficult that is to make. It goes over, and what I've done, that's going to fit well, sort of well. I think it'll fit well. I'm going to use all the real estate on it. I'm going to cut it right up here, and the reason for that is because I don't know how far up this dirty stuff goes, but there is clean bare metal there, and the thing is sort of up here. The other thing is, of course, it's had mud flaps and they're all sort of stretched out. That is actually quite easy to fix, that sort of area there. But it's not worth, I don't think it's worth trying to save original guard when we've got lovely fresh metal right up to there. I think that's going to be the way to go. So we're not going to tack weld it on and just bog it up. We're actually going to cut it off, butt weld it. I think there's a brace behind there, but I think the brace is quite badly affected. I don't know, but that's what we're going to do with that. But we still have to replace or repair the sills. And of course the other issue is I've got to fix the welder because the feed's all wrong in it. We're getting no feed and stacks of feed, so we can't do a nice weld with it at all. So there's another view. And we still have to clean that down. It's still got a little bit of sort of dirty finger marks and stuff like that on the headlining. But on the whole, I'm really happy with that. It's going to be good. Speakers, and of course we've got some Sony speakers. They were $49. They're a 4-inch three-way. I didn't particularly want a three-way or have any desire to have them. I'm guessing that's your bass driver, your woofer, your mid-range, and your tweet is that tiny little piezo thing there. It looks like a piezo one. These I'm quite happy with because I can conceal them under the parcel tray. I'm calling it my wee replacements because the only things they had with them were some screws, a couple of connectors, no wires, no grills. So that's what I'm assuming they are. I've also made some Delrin spacers. Now, Richard Graham's a great supporter of me. He's a friend from the Wolsey Car Club and he had a bunch of this stuff which he gave me. I feel bad making speaker spacers out of it, but I wanted something I could screw down tightly and there won't be any vibration. I think it's going to be fine for that. It is a bit of a waste for that sort of thing, I suppose, but I'll show you what I've been doing. Of course, here is the installation. We've got the two piers. We've got it bolted in there or screwed in there and screwed in where the patch is. The reason for doing it this way and having it flat is because when you have them down in the recess and have them angled, they don't fit. You've got the wiring that goes through there as well, particularly on this side. and they just don't sit flush. I'll show you what I mean. If I grab one, and I move that stuff out of the way, you're still going to be making piers for them. So I figured, I've actually bent that one there, but I figured it's going to be better having them up, oops, like that. And I've got a hole mark there. So that's what I think is going to work best. And of course, having no grills makes no difference to me because we have ordered those 6-inch grills for the parcel tray because of the hole that's been cut there. In the meantime, after we've fitted these, of course, we're going to need to just put a bit of cardboard over, or just something to protect them because they are quite vulnerable. You also notice I'm using 2 different size fasteners. For the long ones, I'm using the ones that were supplied with the speakers. I'm just going to rotate that a bit. And that's probably a bit too low, that one. And for the end ones, I'm using short ones because I don't want, you know, that much overhang in the back. They're all sort of pillared, I suppose. And that will provide a good foundation for them. They're very, very strongly assembled. I have spaced underneath 1 or 2 of them with a couple of washers just to give them the, or to leave the case without the possibility of distortion, if you know what I mean. If it's pulling down on either side, it might affect the sound. But I think they're going to be fine. I think we're done with that. Right, so we've got to put these in. And they're not great, they're a bit pitted. What even looks worse than that, the covers. And drilled a hole, got the chin snips, and cut that. And you'll never see it. What do you think? Make it a bit bigger? Do you like it? I like it. But I'm not finished yet, so I think what we need to do is get a stumpy Phillips screwdriver, a bit of Scotch-Brite, a cable tie, and a bit of 80 grit. And we just hope for the best. We have a bobbin sander at work, but I can't be bothered. The morning's just too busy there. And now we're doing sort of all periods on most of the time. And it just sort of chews it out and leaves it nice and smooth. So I'm going to continue doing this. Now I really feel like a man. Although the paper's munted now, doesn't matter. Well then, is it round? Not really. Does it matter? Not really either. So I think what we'll do is we'll stick some self-adhesive, or what do you call it? Spray adhesive on the back of that, and on the insulation panel, which is this side, because we're going to put that back. This is really good stuff. There's spray contact adhesives and there's this stuff here. This sits on the surface of it, so it's all good. And it comes out as a stream. Super sticky stuff. Clean the jet out and we're good to go. Very tricky. And that goes there. Look, this is old stuff, but it doesn't matter. It will do what we want it to. Right, so we've got all those in, the lights and all this sort of business in. There's another one there. Rear Mr. Wiring's roughed in. I've just got to chuck the seatbelts in. We've got these bits of cardboard over the speakers to protect them for now, as well as the clips in for the rear chrome trim, stainless trim. The windscreen guy. The windscreen guy I went to see today, and he's got the XC screen there and he's all ready to go with it. It's just time to get out of the office. The experienced bloke that's done these sorts of cars before is actually sitting in the office working in there. So I've asked him if he'll do this car at the same time because I don't want to wait. So I'm just waiting on these 2 cars to get the glass in, and once the glass is in both of them, it does make life a little bit easier. The other thing I've done is I've thrown some ball joints in. They're the new replacement ones. Whoops. The other arm I didn't clean up so well. I just don't think it's worth it. These are obviously replacement ball joints. They do look a little bit different from the originals. I've just got to replace these bushes here. They're proud on one side. They're a little bit perished. And sort of level on the other. Just protrude a little bit. There are 3 types of bushes these take. So it's now time to be cleaning rear wind screens. I've got the screen guy coming tomorrow. He doesn't normally work on a Saturday, but he's coming over and he's going to do the Sigma and the XC. The XC is all ready. I've got the trims up on the Plimo, on the boot there, on the trunk. So the front and rear screen trims are there. Sigma ones I haven't had time to polish, but I can hand polish them. They're just stainless, raw stainless. We'll get all this dirt and mud off. These are for the rear louver. We're not putting that back on. I don't want a rear louver. But I will be putting rear Venetians on. I've got one for the XC now. Hopefully by this time tomorrow we've got front and rear glass in both those cars, and the only one that hasn't got it's the Plymouth. So I'm just going to toil away with these. These are really, really difficult to get off, and I don't want to put, there we go, don't want to put too much stress on the glass. So I think we'll get a damp sponge, wipe all that mud off, give it a sort of a pseudo clean, so at least then it can be fitted. Got a little Sigma that's ready for the screens, nicely hardened off. It's all nicely hardened off, it's all good. And then I can sort of, once they're in, we can do something about the, you know, cleaning all this muck off and giving the roof a bit of a polish. I've still got to repair a few things there, and I haven't even finished on the engine bay yet. But a lot of that was because I kept finding surprises. Or I found one over there on the inner guard. But that's nearly ready to paint, almost ready to paint. Just a bit more cleaning and a bit more prep. So I've just made this comment straight off the back of our XC because that's getting its window at the same time. So I'm just waiting really. What I might do in the meantime is just hand polish some of this stuff. Just because there's a little bit of surface rust, but not just that. I found some elastic on a couple of them. And we don't do that. Even if it's neutral cure, you don't put elastic here. You get a problem with water entry in the top corner or whatever, and then it's elastic up to here. It's still going to get in and work its way along, and you're back to square one. Elastic's a no-no on engines, on car bodies. You only use it on exhaust, as far as I'm concerned. Very good. Glass is all back in the Sigma, and this makes reassembly of the car much, much easier because we've got a waterproof car. Same time, done at the same time as the XC, which I've just sort of filmed. XC people don't really want to see Sigmas, I don't think. Front one as well, just stick a little bit of tape around here till the urethane goes off. You can see they're in a slightly different position, the trims. They didn't fit that well. They appeared to when it came out, but it doesn't matter, I don't care. We'll just clean everything up and get it all back in one piece. I'm not nearly as fussy about this car as I am with the Falcon, just because the Falcon's sort of a full restoration and this one isn't, despite what everyone's telling me. And there it is there. So that was a really, really good thing to get done. Very lucky with the weather, because weather's starting to cool down a little bit. Well, it's still the end of summer, but the Melbourne weather is just so unpredictable, so you don't know what you're going to get. But they are done. Both the cars are done. And I am delighted with it. Really, really happy indeed. A couple of last minute considerations. I beg your pardon if there's wind noise. I've made a stupid mistake. That little, what do you call it? Seatbelt light up there. I did a stupid thing. I had it powered off the interior light circuit, which is dumb because that means when it dims down, the circuit's always going to be on because it's constant power. So I've run a separate feed, switch positive, and that goes just to the seatbelt warning light. And that way it'll only be energized while the car's running. So that's another thing I did. One more thing, never ever ever leave me in charge of parcel trays. I broke the XC's one, but I've broken this one too. Very thin in these areas here, you can see where that's cracked. Consequently I've cracked it. Now what'll happen, or what I'm going to do with that, is I'm just going to use a bit of 2-part adhesive, Araldite, and just put a couple of strips there just to hold it, and that can go back in because it's just the masonite that's cracked. The vinyl's alright, and of course you can see I haven't got it buttoned in yet over here because we're waiting on the what do you call it, the speaker grills. Once I've got the speaker grills, that'll be fine. Big dab of urethane there, which I could live without, but it doesn't matter. The guy did a pretty damn good job. So on that note, there's a few things we can do. In the meantime, we can retrim that back part of the seat, the squab, and we can stick rear seat belts in. But probably more importantly for now is to get stuck into this engine bay. It's been going on too long. So until the next time, take good care of yourselves, enjoy your classic, and I'll see you around.